Hello, you are watching Shunte-Lei Reads with me, Shunte-Lei, and today we are talking about books. But of course, we're talking about books. And today we're talking about Amy Tan's Valley of Amazement. So Amy Tan is a New York Times best-selling author. She is probably most popularly known for writing The Joy Luck Club, which was really popular back in the 90s. One of the things that I have found that I really enjoy about Amy Tan's writing, and let me just say that this is the first book I've never read and I never watched, The Joy Luck Club. So I've heard her name run around, but I've never sat down and read a piece of work or watched a film or anything based on her writing. So I was really glad that I started here. So much so that I decided that I really want to read more of her books. And my next book is going to be Joy Luck Club. I have a couple of books here, right? So this was the book that I wanted to read next. I picked this book up. This is The Bone Setter's Daughter by Amy Tan. And The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. This is a newer cover. I enjoy a lot of times the older covers and I like this style, but I see this style a lot, especially with a lot of independent writers. This style, you notice that this has become really popular with for a lot of book covers. And I'm wondering if it's because the book art is maybe easy to do. I don't know. I don't want to diminish graphic designers' work because I know it takes a lot to do something like this or just to do any sort of design. But this is really popular lately. So maybe this is just a trend. This is just the thing people are doing. But Amy Tan, she has this way of writing that is easy. She gets right to the point, but she does not skimp on detail and she does not skimp on character development. I know, like, sometimes when you read books and you're introduced to a character and you're like, yeah, but what happened to them? What are they doing? Where are they now? And you have no idea. You have no idea where they are now because the author just never went back and told you anything about them. That's not necessarily the case here. And you think that it might be as you're reading because you're just like, okay, but she finds a way to bring it back around. I feel like a lot of times good writers have a way of maintaining a pattern, and what makes it even better or more enjoyable to read, like as a reader, is that just when you think that the author may have forgotten, here it comes back, rounding right back again, just reminding you like, hey, I didn't forget. I knew you were going to be curious about this. Here it is. It is for you. So in this story, we are introduced to Violet Midturn, and she is the daughter of a madam who runs a courtesan house. Now, when you think of madams, maybe even if you think of a courtesan house, it is not in the way that we might think of things here in the United States when it comes to trading services for money. So it's not like Pretty Woman, these women aren't outside. And as a matter of fact, there is a hierarchy of services that are delivered. And if you are, I guess it will be like a pretty woman, that category of person or sex worker that trades their intimate services for money, it is really looked down upon, even in that world. A courtesan house has systems, has its own culture, and there is a courtship that needs to take place. Yes, there are monies, traded for, overall services. However, you cannot just go in there and say, I want the one in the red, and then you have your way with the one in the red. You leave 200 on the counter and leave. It's not like that. You are paying your money to the head of the household, and the head of the household disperses that money. There's just a whole system, right? And Violet, from a very young age, is noticing all of this happening. It addresses her position and how she gets into this position, but how she becomes so successful is just in this business as an American woman as a foreigner in a country that is not her own is kind of a mystery. Amy Tan does kind of describe how she got there, and it's believable, but it's almost like, man, I can't believe that people are actually respecting her, because the house that she is in, her courtesan house, is one of the best, if not the best at this time, the best courtesan houses, because it is considered an upper class courtesan house. And even as a patron, not just anyone is welcome there. Like, you have to be of some sort of substance, and sometimes you even have to be referred. You just cannot walk in there thinking that you are going to be able to take part at this courtesan house. It just doesn't work that way. And you have to, yes, you do have to have some money, but you have to have a little something about you. And not every courtesan house is that way, as we find out as we start reading. So like I said, little Violet, and when I say little, I mean young, like she's like 6, 7 years old. She's, as a matter of fact, when we are kind of like really introduced to her, we see that Violet is going to school. Now, like I said, her mother is a foreigner. She is a white woman living in China, and she has given birth to this child. Now, to Violet, she is just going through life as a young foreigner, or so she believes. There's this one day when she goes to school, and she is speaking Pidgin, which, correct me if I'm wrong, as it is described in the book, it is a dialect of in China that is usually used by lower class citizens. This is the information that I'm getting from the book. So if you have any more information about that, feel free to leave that in the comments, and just to further educate me more if I'm getting that wrong. Well, her classmates hear her speaking this language to a man who seems to be down in his luck, and they are attacking Violet, and they are telling Violet that, yeah, see, you really are Chinese, because they have a suspicion that she might not be as foreign as Violet believes. And Violet is like, no, I'm not Chinese. I'm a foreigner, and you're supposed to respect me, because I guess the culture there is that you're supposed to respect. You're supposed to respect and pay these foreigners some respect, because, you know, they're not just they're coming here with a little bit of like an air of already being successful, having money, being of an upper class, so to speak. And if you want to be as respected as the next person, then you're going to honor these like Western cultures and lifestyles. And Violet is really adamant about not being Chinese. And she has just an air of arrogance about her. And she's getting on these little girls' nerves. So these little girls jump her, and they are really giving it to Violet. Now, Violet is little. She has a loose tooth, okay? But that doesn't stop her. She is fighting back. She comes up missing a tooth, okay? But it was already loose. She goes home and she tells her mom all that has happened. And her mom, being the protective mother that she is, says, you know what, Violet, we will do our education at home. So Violet doesn't return to school, but she is still, you know, she's left thinking about her own identity. So as time goes by, Violet fills her days with playing pranks on the courtesans, and she is sneaking in the rooms and watching the activities of the courtesans and their gentlemen. And at a young age at first, and as she admits in the book, she doesn't really know what she's seeing. To her, it is hilarious. She's like seeing these different acts take place. And I'm like, okay, I mean, you know, this is wrong. She's a little girl. She shouldn't be seeing these things, Mom. You know, Lulu, that's her mom's name. And you're just waiting for like somebody to snatch her up and put her in her place, a child's place. But that doesn't really happen. Violet seems to find herself and keep finding herself in these situations that are not meant for a child to be in. And while you're reading, you're wondering, like, why does her mother have her exposed to all of these things? And the mom was just left with choices. She didn't have a lot of choices, right? And you got to think about the time in which all of this is happening, and where women really weren't allowed to do certain jobs. And she's in China, she's not in the States, you know. And there are certain rules and certain cultures, lifestyles and things, systems that she has to follow if she's going to survive, you know, during this time. As time goes on, Violet wants to know who her father is. She doesn't know. She's never, or at least she believes that she has never met him. The Qing dynasty at this time, it's around 1912, is, you know, being overtaken. And things in China are getting ready to change drastically. And her mother decides that it's probably, let's go back to the United States. Let's settle a few things and get some things in order. So it would be so easy for them to just get on this boat because that's how they were going to be traveling. However, can't find her birth certificate, and she puts her trust in the wrong person. And this is where the story gets picked up. Okay. Violet at this time is now 14. She's seen a lot of things. At this time, she's come to terms with her identity, but she is still refusing to be Chinese, even though she is fluent in Mandarin and other dialects of Chinese languages, as well as English. She can read and write in both languages, and she is kidnapped and sold to a courtesan house as a virgin courtesan. But not only that, it is to a lesser house. So it doesn't have the same respect, air, and also the things that she was privy to at her old courtesan house where her mother was the madam. She is no longer privy to those things anymore. Her privileges are gone. Her mother has been betrayed. And as a matter of fact, her mom is now on a boat to, I believe it's San Francisco, and it takes about 30 days to get from China to San Francisco by boat. When her mom understands that her daughter may have been swindled in some way, she is very adamant about getting off of that boat and returning back to the mainland. But they are like, lady, you are crazy. They drug her. She's asleep for 2 days on a boat. And when she wakes up, she's in the middle of the ocean away from her daughter. And a few days later, she gets word that her daughter has died. Whoo, child. A lot happens. A lot is going on. And both women are being deceived in many ways. There are a lot of things that happen to Violet that she probably never would have gone through had her mother didn't make the decisions that she made in life that affected Violet. And, you know, this goes through you go through a series of a generation of women, and you see the choices that these women have to make. Talking marriages, marrying out of convenience. We're talking about loyalty to family. And with that, I mean, there is, the book starts out giving you details about Violet's life, right? But we also get details about her mother, Lulu's life, who she ended up in China following an artist. And then they were supposed to be in love, or at least that's what she thought. I mean, here it is. This is the late 1800s. And women don't really have much independence at this time. And she decides that at 16, she's going to leave her family and follow this man to China, knowing that he has familial obligation, which she has no really full understanding of, because the culture, even at that time, between the East and the West, and how we respect our families, very different. He was not willing to lose his family to follow a woman to be in love, that he was in love with, that was with child or not. And she, as a woman, was willing to risk it all because she was in love, to lose her family, which she did in a very, very mean and almost nasty way. But her family set it up so that it could happen, not knowingly. It was based on actions that they had done themselves. it is really a tragedy what happens to Lulu, and I'm pretty sure she was really full of regret, especially when she realized that he wasn't willing to do the same as she had done. She literally went to another country following her heart. And when she got to that country, her heart didn't love her back. He chose his family and she rejected her. The bonds that he had and the obligations that he was getting chewed. There's a scene in this book where he is getting chewed out by his father, who goes back 500 years of lineage, and just reminding him, you are willing to give up 500 years of lineage for a woman you met on vacation? Basically, that's how he made it sound. Like, you're going to give this up for this woman who, you know, after she gives birth to a girl who didn't even give you a boy? This is, whew. I mean, there's a lot to unpack in this book. And if you want to talk further about it, read this book and come back and let's talk some more about it. I mean, there is a lot to be said. Violet ends up in a lot of situations. Her mother, Lulu, ends up in a lot of situations. And because her mother learned how to operate in a land that she was not from, it helped her daughter to be able to survive. She was able to build up a tough skin and come into her own as a person out of her mother's shadow, because her mother, you know, set the ground for who she was going to become later on in life. And a lot of the lessons that she learned from her mom really did help her to survive her years as a courtesan and after, because Violet experiences, I would say a bad marriage. But even though I'm itching to say more, that's all I'm going to say for now. So I will say thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you want more like it, you know, just let me know. So I will say thank you for watching. I will see you guys again really soon.